white. This is official.
Who would have thought?
Right? So what are the rules here? What are
The rules are there are no rules.
Oh boy.
Dude, silence your shit, Dom.
Oh boy.
Yeah, right.
What a day.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really excited for this one.
Me too, man. We were listening to James last night.
Oh yeah.
That dude's just like, you can tell he just has so much knowledge in there.
Dude, it's almost frustrating sometimes talking to him.
He's an officer. You know what I mean? He literally is, and it's just like, you can see it. If you've ever served, like, you can see that he is a true officer and just like he has
To
knowledge.
the core.
Yeah.
I tell him all the time, like,
He gets
you
so much deeper
would have hated me as a troop.
Dude, like all of us, like we're talking to Eric, we're talking to Franklin, we're all like, they're telling me about the push in Iraq when they were first there and stuff, and we have talked about this before, where it's like we're great on the outside, but if they had a platoon of us, like the Marine Corps would not survive.
No.
Any platoon sergeant, commander, anybody would just. They would hate us. Man.
My first platoon as a staff sergeant, they literally put me there because this team was so belligerent. They were pretty much running staff NCOs out. Like, guys were just, they hated them. I mean, these guys just ate everybody alive, and they're like, you're the most belligerent asshole that's in this battalion, and you got selected for staff. They're like, those are your guys now. And
it's crazy.
And it was like, dude, we had the greatest team because I just related with them. I wasn't some like moto. Anyways,
that's
dude. Dom, the Dom, a.k.a. the backcountry amputee.
Woo!
Hey, protect your neck, right?
Yeah, that's right, man. Especially wishes.
Yeah, let's jump into it. Why don't you give me a little intro about yourself, and we'll just jump into where you're from, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, so, I mean, everybody else doesn't. I grew up in Chicago, like in the city. I was in sports, doing stuff, and, never really had a calling to the military. I got out of high school, kind of needed to do something, and, the Marine Corps seemed like the best fit. I had a cousin who was a recruiter at the time and kind of disqualified me for a tattoo I had on my neck, and it was just kind of hilarious because it was during the height of war, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody, I wouldn't think any rational person would want to enlist, but I really didn't have any, like, clue about the military, what was going on with the war, Like, you guys had already been there at that point by the time I got in like, 05. But I was a high schooler. I didn't watch TV. I didn't do anything, so I just kind of joined on a whim after another recruiter approached me and was like, hey, we can get you in and, don't worry about it.
So your cousin totally fucked you over or what?
No, I think he was protecting me because my mom's just wild. You know my mom. And, so I think it was kind of protecting me, but it was also like they were, they weren't letting guys in for like having tattoos and stuff or having like certain things. But it was weird because that was like the summer of 2006. And then by October, I had talked with my recruiter probably like August or so and couldn't get me in because of the tattoos. And then October came and they were needing numbers, and I'm assuming
the waivers.
Right, yeah, they're getting waivers. They're like bumping up guys going to, like they want more guys for like the war and whatever is coming ahead of us, which was Afghanistan at that point. We didn't know, but yeah, just kind of joined. Wasn't even thinking about service to my country, anything like that. It was just like, I need
to get out of Chicago.
Yeah, something to do. But no, just kind of fell in love with it as much as you could and as much as anybody else did. But yeah, so enlisted in 2006. Went to boot camp on the West Coast. Did that. It was awesome. We did our 3 months there. Then we did SOI.
How was boot camp for you? I always like to hear it.
Dude, it was crazy. It was funny because my cousin was a Marine. He was with 1-5 during the push in Fallujah and that, and it was just very. I remember Black Friday coming up, and like I'm just dying laughing because of how ridiculous of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like I was never like scared. I was never like I was more in shock of like this is the craziest thing that's going on. Like, you know what it is? It's not crazy in the sense of like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. It's like you're getting yelled at. They're flipping your racks over. They're tossed. You just got a full load from supply of what you're supposed to have, and you're thinking as a Marine you need to be squared away. So like all you're thinking about is like this bag and everything in here is so important and I need to do this. And then you get picked up by drill instructors and all that shit gets blown all over the squad bay, gets thrown out of windows. You're going from the front door to the back door, in the showers, out of the shower. Like, dude, it was ridiculous. Like, boot camp was just insane. Where I just remember being in the shower just like dying laughing because I had no clue what was going on.
Yeah.
Like, we're just getting yelled at. It's like it was never any yelling that I hadn't already dealt with, but it was just funny, man. It was a crazy experience, and then you get done with boot camp and you really feel like, oh, I'm a Marine, and you're not. You get to your infantry school or whatever.
Start all over again.
You do. You literally do. You're not saying drill instructor. You're saying like you're calling them sergeants and by their rank.
Lance corporal.
Yeah,
you got some senior lance corporal chewing your ass.
No, and then you're like, you do that. You do your school, and you're like, oh, this is cool. Like now I'm a Marine. I'm in. And then you get to a fleet, and it's 1,000 times worse because there's no order. Like dudes are just getting hazed, but it's, that's the Marine Corps. That's how it goes,
When did you hit the fleet? So you were early 2005-ish?
So I graduated high school 05, went into the Marine Corps 06, November of 06, got into the fleet of like March, I want to say, to 2-8 in Camp Lejeune. So we went from the West Coast. They sent our entire class to the East Coast.
So you were living life in San Diego.
I was loving it, dude.
Yeah.
Going down to TJ when you were still able to go down there and stuff. Like it was great, man. Like for the 2 months,
dude, nothing beats the West Coast. I mean, that was the reason I got out of the Marine Corps. I got orders to Lejeune, and I was like, nah, it's time for me to go. But it's night and day. People don't understand. There's a difference between Lejeune and Pendleton Marines. It's a completely different mindset.
Lejeune Marines. Anybody who served at Lejeune, and we were listening to Nash's, his podcast, and he's talking about Eastern Carolina, and it is beautiful. Now that I've moved out of there and I'm not there, like I do love, that whole coast. The whole coastline is amazing. But when you're there, you're 20 years old. I came from Chicago. Dudes are coming from New York, big cities. Some guys are coming from small towns. But you get to Lejeune, dude, and there's nothing around. Like there is nothing around. Like
culture shock.
Yes, dude. You want to go to New York? 10 hours. You want to go to Florida? 10 hours. You want to go anywhere like outside of like Wilmington area? It's a drive, dude. Charlotte's like 4 hours from there. Like it is. You are truly in the middle of nowhere, and then it's a small town with a base.
Yeah. Everybody
Everybody knows each other. Everybody who lives there now is attached to the Marine Corps in some sense, or the Army that's not far up the road. So you get a lot of just a lot of the same people, and people get stuck there.
Especially for you, you're kind of all gas no brake kind of guy.
Yeah. So it was crazy. Like I remember talking to other like dudes in like 1-9 and stuff, and it seemed like a lot of those guys like went and traveled, and like we didn't. Like me and my buddies just like hit the 7-day store, got drinks. Like that's all we did. We went to the beach a couple times, but it was crazy when I got to the fleet. So I got to the fleet. We land at Cherry Point. My cousin tells me he's like, I was going motor T first because there's no infantry packets. Then my recruiter calls me and says, hey, there's a couple infantry spots. You got to let me know within like the next hour or so. So I call my cousin up, I'm like, hey man, like there's like one infantry spot I can get. And all he says is Danny did it. And I was like, all right, fine. Like I'm done. That's all I need to hear, So I call him, I'm like, hey, yeah, let me get the infantry spot. But
did you know like even anything about it? Like, so when I joined the Marine Corps, it was one of those things like, okay, like, 9/11 happened. All right, this is my calling. I didn't know shit.
I didn't know anything.
Nothing. Like
my cousin told me that life was gonna suck because he was also a drill instructor.
Yeah, but like nobody actually explains how bad it's gonna suck.
No. Yes, and he even gave me like a pretty good like idea. He's like, you know what? He's like, you're gonna hate life. He's like, it's gonna suck. He's like, but you're gonna be a Marine. This typical Marine.
You can't comprehend how level of suck because we go from like being a high school kid.
Yeah, and you're the most important thing in your life, and there wasn't even cell phones at that time. So the most important thing in your life is like your bike, or or your car that you have now, or something.
Your piece of shit car you saved up all summer for.
Exactly. You don't give a shit about anything. So then you get in the Marine Corps and you're like handed tens of thousands of dollars worth of equipment, and they're like, here you go.
You're in charge of it now.
Yeah, they're giving you a Humvee. You were in tracks, you know what I mean? You were like,
Yeah, I'm a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
They gave me a war machine.
Yes,
They're like,
dude.
you're responsible for
You know?
everything on it. Like,
so it was wild, and my cousin like kind of told me, he was like, it's gonna suck, life's gonna suck, you know, but it's whatever. And then he also said, he was like, I guess Iraq was kind of winding down at the time, so he wasn't lying. He's telling me, he's like, they're barely sending out any infantry units now. He's like, it's select units and stuff. He's like, so you might deploy once while you're in or something. And dude, I get to Cherry Point, we get off the plane, and it's like a Southwest flight full of just like boots.
Marines, yeah.
Yeah, just everybody's just gotten out. There's like 100 and some Marines that are going to, you know, these other companies, and we get there and they're like, you're going to Iraq in 7 months. And we're like, what? Fuck. We just left the West Coast. That was amazing. Now we're getting sent out to Iraq, but it was crazy, man. And then
what a Marine Corps thing. You know, you go
literally.
You go from, I mean, even though you guys were in San Diego for boot camp, I mean, that's got to be awesome because you're going from Chicago to San Diego. Then you get stationed. You get orders back to. So you didn't go to Pendleton for SOI or anything? You had
No, I did Pendleton.
Okay,
yeah,
so you got the experience.
Pendleton,
Okay,
yeah.
so you got
amazing,
some freedom
dude.
there, and you hit the beach. You're in Del Mar.
Yeah.
I mean, San Diego, exploring everything,
Dude,
and then
it was
all of
amazing.
a sudden you get just the
get
rug
sent-
pulled out from underneath you, and you get
Dude.
orders to Iraq.
Yes, yeah, basically. And it was like, you should have just sent us to Iraq first because Lejeune was, you know, it was
Lejeune.
It was miserable, but it was great because, I don't know, I felt like we got to know each other a ton, and we had a great team, and but it was just funny, man. It's just like Camp Lejeune is just like nonstop training, humidity, just, your camis are just, you know, soaked all the time, and it's raining, you know, most of the time you're in the field, so it's miserable, but, you know, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
you know, when you look back at it, you're 19 years old, and you're like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, I was able to do that. Like, I can't believe that, you know, we were up for a week-long, you know.
Shooting machine guns.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like.
And then you look at it, you're like, God, we had to pick up brass for 4 days after, and then we had to clean heavies. You know,
yeah,
you
and you're like picking up brass, and you're like looking at brass that's been here for years, and you're like, what battalion was this? Because I want to be with them. They clearly don't give a shit about cleaning anything up. Like,
then you end up picking up their shit.
Yes,
like,
dude.
who were these? Were these reserve unit? Like,
picking up cigarette butts for dudes. Like, you never smoked a Marine Corps. You know what I mean? You know what it is. It's
I don't even know. I mean, I've probably had smoked a couple cigarettes, drinking, partying with friends, but like, I never smoked. Right?
Yeah.
I don't know how many thousands of cigarette butts I had to pick up, and that was one of those things that pissed me off more than anything. Because then you smell.
Yes.
Like
you got it
dirty
in your pockets.
Fill in my cargo pockets with somebody else's dirty ass cigarette butt, and then the whole day you're smelling.
Yep.
Bro, that shit used to drive me. Oh, you want to talk about 0 to 100 pissed off? Like,
I
get online, go. Remember the step together, bend together,
dude,
pick together.
Yes. And you know you've just passed an area, and you've clearly picked up everything because there's no grass where they are. It's just all sand and Lejeune, at least, you know. And like, then they're like, we found a cigarette butt. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's the one you were just smoking in front of us. Like, what do you mean you found one? Everybody's got to come back, like,
start over again.
It was tough, but I will say, like, we had a good battalion, we had good leadership, you know, and I feel like your story. It's funny, like, talking to Eric, who's going to be here. You guys are going to do one also, but his Marine Corps story is like, he got in his comms, and he gets in, and the next thing he knows is he's a grunt, like, in the push, like, he's online, like, he's telling me about this. I'm like, dude, this is insane. Like, this is what separates, like, the Marine Corps from the Army and Navy. It's like, when we say every Marine's a rifleman, like, it's completely true.
100%.
Like, you know, and we talked about it, like, there's certain eras where I don't feel like right now every Marine's a rifleman, maybe, you know, because there's no war going on. But, like, I mean, Franklin also, like, those dudes were, like, handed rifles and machine guns, and they're like, dude, get online and start. Like, they went through all the major cities, you know what I mean? And they weren't grunts. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like,
I mean, we had our cookout there.
Yeah, that's what he said.
There was cooks that were hooking and jabbing, and I mean,
crazy.
It was wild, dude. The early days were insane.
I couldn't imagine Iraq at that time.
I can't wait to sit down and talk to those dudes.
They're
But
great dudes, but
so you get to 2-8.
Yeah.
And then
trained for 7 months, and
so you went straight into workups.
yes.
So there was no downtime.
So then that's what I was gonna say about our experience. So when we got there, it was all our senior guys were getting out. So we were a 90% boot drop, and then it was like 10% of like senior guys and senior leadership. And like, so when I got to the fleet, we had all of our leadership was either relieved to the next command, you know, because when you get back from a deployment,
you detach and get
right, exactly. You go to your next duty station, and so a lot of those guys were gone. The corporals, sergeants, staff sergeants that we had that were staying were all at school. So we had like maybe not the shit bags, but the guys that weren't going to any schools or anything. Yeah, short timers, guys like that.
Broke dicks,
and they were all in charge of us. So I like get to the fleet, and my platoon commander's like a corporal, and I'm like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm telling my recruiter, I don't know any difference. And he's like, what's going on over there? I was like, dude, I don't know. Like I just showed up. So there might have been, you know, maybe a month where of not even that, because you were cleaning company office. You know, you're getting the guys who just got worked, like, because, you know, I've talked about this with you and other dudes where it's like, dudes got worked in Iraq. Like, there was like 3 days of like Purple Heart, you know, ceremonies and stuff where it was just like nonstop for like 6 hours.
Did you go through? Did you stand in through any of those?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about that real quick. So when I hit the fleet, the battalion that was deployed, and the Bravo company, and they got their asses handed to them. Like, and we were hearing all the stories, and like, you know, everything trickles back. So they get back, and then, you know, I think it was like a month later, a few weeks later, anyways, they do the Purple Heart ceremony, and I was like, oh, cool, a couple dudes got Purple Hearts. Like, you know, I'm still a boot. I have no idea.
No clue.
They had fucking tables.
Yes. Same.
I'm not exaggerating. These things were 1.5 feet, 2 feet high.
Yeah.
Stacks of Purple Hearts.
It was nuts,
and
dude.
they filled this auditorium, and we had to stand at attention for hours, bro.
Dude.
People were boom on the basketball court, passing out. There were so many Purple Hearts, and then they would read this dude's citation, and then they would read his another citation. Then they would read, like, dudes had like 2 or 3 purple. I'm like, what the?
Dude.
Days
but
of
you don't understand. Like, you see movies. And movies do not portray war
at all.
No. At all. No, nothing. Like, it's...
Or the workup, because we're watching Band of Brothers with the kids.
Yeah.
Or not, Band of Brothers. And just like they go through their little ceremonies, I'm like, nah, that'd have been an all-day thing.
No, like, exactly. You know, exactly. We were at Camp Lejeune, the same thing, just tables of it, and we're outside, dude. It's the summer, and guys are sweating.
Yes,
just like,
dude.
and there's no break. Like, it was crazy. It was wild, and it was that I remember being there and being like, and just a kid, dude. You don't grasp anything.
Literally,
and I'm just like, this is wild. Like, I don't even know what a Purple Heart really is. You know what I'm saying? Like, who do I salute? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're still like learning stuff. So like we did that, and we did our workup, but it was like right away. Like our squad leader was at like sergeant's corps. Couple of squad leaders that were staying were all at sergeant's corps, MLOC, whatever, like machine gun leader course or Salmons, things like that.
Were these guys that just gotten back from deployment, so they're getting okay? So what happens, just to spin up everybody listening? So when you get back from a deployment, a lot of guys pick up rank. So they go from, you know, non-corps NCOs to a non-commissioned officer, and then obviously in the Marine Corps you have to have certain schools to check off the list. So when you do, you go. So like when you pick up sergeant, there's a sergeant's course, so they teach you how to
corporal's course now,
be a corporal, be a sergeant, how to be a leader, write paperwork, all that crap. Right. So those guys. So when you got to the fleet, those guys were all in their courses getting spun up
and just came back from a tough deployment. You know what I'm saying? So we're like,
so they hate life.
And they just hate us. You know what I mean? It's all boots, and like it was chaos for a while, and then. You know, we had, I think Sergeant Gray was like amazing. Like, we had a great squad leader. Our team, my buddy Rosales, my buddy Demon, Heath, like, we had an awesome team. You know, not exaggerating, like, we were the best team in our platoon and in our company. And nobody really messed with us because Gray was just like, he was kind of like you, like, had that presence, just walked around and everybody knew him. You know, he was like super well respected. Like, he was an awesome squad leader, and like we really got lucky. But our Iraq was nothing like anybody else's. Like, for Iraq, for us, once we got there, we got there in October, and dude, it was.
Where were you?
We were in Ramadi.
So you got old school. You got the old.
Yeah. It
boring Ramadi.
Oh my gosh, it was so boring. Like, it was like Dude, we would listen to music in Humvees. Like, we'd have speakers. Like, you know, we'd play games. Like, we get care packages. We had internet at our fob like the whole
What fob
time.
were you guys?
I was at ECP North when I first got there.
Okay.
So it was like right off the Euphrates, and we had this bridge that we were protecting, I guess.
Staring at.
Yeah, literally
for
staring. Yeah.
Weeks, months on
Dude,
end.
so dumb, you know, and it's like you can't do anything at that point. Your rules of engagements are like nothing. Like you're shooting like 15 pen flares before you can even shoot a star cluster. You know, it was just it sucked. It sucked for us because it wasn't the Marine Corps that we were like training for, and the Marine Corps that we thought. So when we got there, it was like really difficult, and dudes were getting hurt. Dudes were getting like in trouble.
Instead of
Steroids were really big. Like guys were like going into markets and just stealing steroids and getting jacked and shit. You know what I mean? You know, like it was crazy, dude.
Dude, you cannot leave Marines unattended or without something to do. Like imagine the most spun up dog, like a border collie or something that needs to work, and you just lock it in a room like
Malinois. You know what I'm saying? You got a Malinois, and they just look at you all day like, I need to do something, but you need
let me eat.
You just need work,
yeah. And that's where a lot of guys get in trouble.
Yeah.
On workups and deployments is because they send these guys out there to stare at a fucking road for a month, 2 months, and these guys start losing their mind and getting in trouble, and then they wonder why.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And it's, you know, your life doesn't stop at home, so it's continually going. Mm-hmm. And, you know, dudes are having a rough time, their wives are having a rough time, or family, you know, things happen with family and stuff, and it's like, yeah, Marines just need a job, and especially for like infantry dudes or like combat dudes, like it's hard to be in a place where it's like, oh, here's a rice bag today, you know, like here you go, and you're handing out food, or you're handing out money to these guys and stuff, you know, and you're like, this is not what I saw on TV, you know, just a couple months ago. But Iraq was chill. We had one VBID go off at the Gov Center when we first got there, like our first month or so, and then the last 2 weeks, we were ripping with 1-9. So 1-9 came in, and we were showing them stuff, showing them the AO and everything, and taking over because we took over from 1-7, and we had Nasser had an IED, so like a VBID rode through Nasser. They had like 2,500 pounds of explosives like in this dump truck. Shit. It's crazy. So they had like this the snake or concertina, whatever.
Oh, the barriers you got to go around,
So that dude came rolling through. 1-9 was at Nasser with 2-8 and ripping, and Corporal Yale and Lance Corporal Harder stopped this guy. Like they killed this dude. And there was probably about 150 Marines at this fob that this guy would have killed.
No shit.
And killed this dude. It still detonated, killing both of them, but saved everybody else. It was absolutely amazing. They ended up getting Navy Crosses for it.
No kidding.
I know they were talking about like wanting to bump it up.
There.
Dude, it's nuts. It's really nuts. And the thing about 2-8, man, is like we've been in every war, we've been in every conflict, and I feel like nobody hears about us. And people hear about this incident, like, because a lot of people know about this, and they still don't even realize that it was like 2-8. But so we had that happen. Crazy thing. So one of the guys that was in my truck that was killed, Nick Zaros, he was at Nasser that day with 1-9, which is crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely nuts, dude.
So we dodged that one.
Yes, and then comes on our deployment.
We'll get to
you
that.
know.
Yeah.
So we did that. We got back. I don't know. We did the winter in Iraq, and then we got back like summer. And stuff.
Okay, so people don't understand because I was fortunate enough that both my deployments was fall, winter, spring, and then we left.
That's how ours were. Yeah.
And people were like, "Oh, it must be nice. You dodged the heat, dude." We froze.
It was freezing.
Froze our asses off. Like I did it. I don't know what podcast we talked about on how we were at Al Assad and we cut the fences.
Yeah.
Sneak into the army and to get those black fleeces. Like we were in flight suits.
Yes.
They put us in those Mylar or whatever the flame retardant.
I was gonna say not flame retardant.
Nah,
they just melt to you,
dude. 100%. Yeah. But we were in those, and like you were like putting on as many layers as you could, and we were not prepared at all. And like we would, dude, you're standing in a post in the middle of the night, and it's 30-mile-an-hour winds, and you're on this.
Yeah.
Roof. Like, dude, you wanted to.
The last thing you're worried about is a sniper.
I'm gonna have one of my this guy I was in boot camp with, and we deployed together. Him and I, when we first got to Iraq, we ended up pushing up to this like They said it was like this bomb-making facility.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all the-
Always.
It's always, right? And you get in there,
big
you're like,
drug
who the
bust.
fuck was watching this? Like, like what bomb, like, you know,
hey, it's
they
just
see
like a
some sheep
lady.
herder go in the back,
Yeah.
and they're like, they're building IEDs. So anyways, we roll up in the middle of the night, and we had to do ground security. And it sucked because they split our platoon, so I wasn't in my vehicle. So if you weren't in a vehicle, you had to do ground, like...
That sucks. When you're in a truck, dude, yeah.
Dude,
you're just
it's
like,
anyways. It was so cold. We were in like this fighting hole that was like just ditch in the ground.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting in each other's sleeping bag.
Yeah.
And both like got in my sleeping bag and then got in his sleep and zipped it
Yes,
up.
dude.
And bro, we held each other.
Yeah.
All night.
Dude.
Thought I was gonna die.
Dude.
I legit thought I was gonna freeze to death in
It's freezing
Iraq.
out there.
And
People don't get it.
Dude, and they like the next morning they get all the the sun comes up and we realize there's nothing.
yeah.
Like, him and I are literally down in this
Yeah.
hole holding each other. Like I don't even think we slept. Anyways, the staff sergeant comes up like, "What are you guys?"
Yeah, like fucking staying alive, dude. Like,
Yeah,
leave
bro.
us
Like you
alone.
were in your vehicle all night with the heater running, motherfucker. Like
exactly.
I'm holding this dude, his like literally holding
Yeah,
each other.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I love you, dude. Like don't die on me.
I hope a firefight pops off so we can just get up
Dude,
and
just
move.
some adrenaline or
Yeah,
something.
you know.
We froze in
Yes.
Iraq. Froze,
Yeah, we used
dude.
to sleep 3 on Iraq in Iraq at our fob at ECP North. We were freezing, dude.
Yes.
Like everybody,
And that's where
it
civilians.
snowed on us one day. It snowed. It was the first time in like 20, 30 years. And like they were losing their minds. They thought the world was ending. Like it was crazy. Like
Dude, people don't. Your water bottles would be frozen solid in
Yeah.
the morning. Like that's how that's how cold it is. And people, I think it's things like that. Like obviously, boot camp. We were boots when we got all the seniors back from the initial push,
Yeah.
and then that's when we were in the fleet when the initial push was happening. So when they came back,
just
like
so
our
horrible
life
for
was
you guys.
was
It
like
was over.
was hell, bro.
Yeah,
Like
it was
dudes were
over.
going UA like on a cyclic rate, like pissing on their uniforms in their room, leaving. But anyway, it's all those little
that's crazy.
fucking miserable moments
Yeah.
that bring the military
Yeah.
so close together because
Yeah.
like if I was telling some random guys like civilians like dude I was in another man's sleeping holding each other shivering because we
Yeah.
thought we were gonna die, like people have such a hard time comprehending, and then they're always like, man, like you guys are so tight, or like Britt says it all the time. She's
Yeah.
like, dude, whenever and whenever there's other Marines, like you guys are instant
Just link. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's so hard to explain to people of where that camaraderie and like true brotherhood comes from.
Just
is
a
from
common bond.
suffering
Yes.
so
Yes.
bad, and then I could know I'd talk to another Marine in that era and
Yeah.
be like, all right, like
Yeah. And it's even I find it crazy because like you and I are such best friends and we're so close, and I'm the same way with Eric and Franklin, and you guys are all completely different parts of Iraq.
Different era
Like,
Marines.
Exactly. We completely different area. Eric Eric will talk about it, and they were saying when they first got to Iraq, like they were fighting conventional army dudes had uniforms. Yeah, and he said he's like my next deployment, he's like it was just insurgents. He's like it was completely different.
Yeah, it went from military to insurgents to
So like even other countries, like the Kurds were there. You know what I mean? There was Chinese, like people. There was just all types of like just other countries that hate us. That
you
want,
went from
know?
fighting people in a uniform to now fighting guys that were dressed up like women
Yes,
and letting you roll
yes.
right by them and shooting you in the back. I
Exactly.
mean, so it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
And so you can take so many different era Marines from those guys that did initial push to my era was just like the middle range, and then you coming in the Iraq catching the end.
being like the complete end. You know what I mean?
But
Like,
still having all same experiences that
right.
bring
Same areas, same AOs. You know
Well,
what
dude,
I'm
we
saying?
did Ramadi with Bell.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
that's crazy, too.
our reunion. I just got a notification. We're about to hit our
Are you
20-year.
gonna go?
It's here
gotta
next
go.
month.
It's here?
Not here, but it's coming up
Yeah.
next month on
Dude,
like.
you got to go.
I wish I have other things. I would love to have gone, but yeah, 20-year reunion, and it's like,
crazy.
but I could still talk to these guys and see, and it's like, oh, dude, you're here during. I mean, you did Ramadi after 2-4, and it's like
It was a completely different experience. When we got to Ramadi, dude, it was like, and I've said this before, like, dude, it was so eerie because we've, as a kid, I'm seeing, 19, 18, 19-year-olds seeing the war, seeing, what you picture of the first stages of Iraq, where you're just like watching this NVG footage where it's just green and there's just lights and rockets and everything going all over the
Tracers
place.
and-
Yeah.
yeah.
And I have no clue. I don't know what any of that is. I'm not in the Marine Corps. Even in the Marine Corps, I'm like still learning this stuff. But you get to Iraq, dude, and there was holes in everything.
oh, Ramadi got turned to Swiss
Everything.
cheese.
Dude, Ramadi was like, we'd pass a hospital, hole from top to bottom. We passed a school, holes from top to bottom. Like everything had holes in it, dude. Like the ground had holes in it from like bullets and like IEDs and stuff, dude. It was the craziest thing. You're rolling through these buildings, and you know, I remember hospital being like 4 or 5 stories, and it's completely just dark. All the windows shot up, yeah, and it's just like what went on here? Like these dudes, I don't think people understand like what happened in Iraq. Like Afghanistan was completely different in the sense of like Iraq was a city. Iraq were cities. Like you guys were going through cities. There were small towns. There was Baghdad. There was Fallujah. There was Ramadi. There was all these big cities that you walk through, and it's like it's Chicago or LA or New York, but mud huts. Like not as tall, but there's tall. I mean, for
several story buildings.
Yes, for being, and then there's wires everywhere. Like it is a true, like it looked like a war zone before we got there. You know what I mean? So when we got there, it was really like a war zone. But yeah, like seeing all that stuff, I was like, wow. And then not doing a deployment that, you know,
you're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah,
there?
exactly. Like dudes, and you know, the insurgents and that they know your schedules, who's coming out there, what units. Yep. You know, it's crazy. They're probably getting intel from back in the States, who's like training and how hard they are and stuff. And so our deployment was really calm, but we were supposed to go back to Iraq, and our next deployment was supposed to be back to Ramadi to go demill everything, go take down Blue Diamond, go take down the JCC, like we were gonna go
Camp Tombstone. There was a bunch of.
We're gonna take down all of it. Like we're gonna go take it down, and then I'm sure leave whatever we didn't give a shit about, which was probably 90% of it. But they needed a working party.
Yeah.
So that was our deployment, and that was like the plan. And then while we're at CAX doing our last like training evolution, like I remember doing it was like
CAX.
Yeah, dude, it was crazy. He did the division
CAX.
assault, dude. It was horrible.
CAX
you
is the
spent
worst.
a month being in your truck and just like not showering. And,
oh god,
dude, it was crazy. And we got doing my second CAX. We got word like, hey, missions changed. We're getting extended in the States a couple more months, and we're going to Afghanistan.
So let's explain CAX real quick, because I think we've talked about it on other, because everybody seems like everybody went through CAX. Mojave Viper. So before you deploy overseas to or a combat deployment or anything to Iraq, Afghanistan, you have to go through like a 6 months workup is what we call it, and you pretty much are learning. You're bringing the units together, learning how to work together.
Yeah, how to
infantry units are learning how to shoot, move, communicate. Same with like the mechanized guys. We're working together with our vehicles and the ground mount guys and
comm, supplies,
mortars, artillery.
Yes,
so it's a mock deployment is what you're going through, and they throw you through all these scenarios. Well, one of the phases of this is CAX, or it used to be Mojave Viper.
Yeah,
and then went to CAX.
It was Mojave Viper for Iraq, and then it's no. I think it was CAX and then Mojave Viper maybe.
I don't remember. I always thought it was Mojave Viper.
Maybe it was. You might have been. Yeah.
So I never did Afghan, so it was always Mojave.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's in 29 Palms, and
the worst,
the biggest shithole you've ever been to in your life.
Simulates Afghanistan and Iraq very well.
And there's a training unit called Lovick Lake, which is where we would do all of our training. It's where we do all of the live fire maneuvers with the tanks, Amtraks, all of that stuff. And you spend a month out there just roasting.
Getting evaluated also.
And you have these guys, and they're on the range. Some of them are civilians, and they're judging how you're pretty much your unit is qualified to deploy or not, which nobody's never not been qualified.
Well,
I've ever heard.
Well, that's kind of the reason why we got sent to Afghanistan, because I believe that 3.8 or 1.8 or 1.9, somebody failed CAX.
No.
Yes, dude. Like I also feel that someone was killed during CAX, like was shot with a 50 cal or something like that, I believe. Like,
okay, I can understand that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And it's like that's even another topic. It's like training accidents. Like that happens all the time.
I think and I could be wrong, and I'm going to have one of my buddies on that I was with. I want to say we had 19 NJPs out of CAX because they gave us a day off halfway through.
Yes. They let you go to the rear. Yeah,
they let us go back to main side, and there was dudes running around with their camelbacks on their back, full of like wild turkey and Jim Beam, and then Amtrackers and LAR. Where we hate each other. Right. I don't even know where like the rivalry came from, but like we're mechanized, they want to be mechanized, but they got a bigger gun. It's like this stupid Marine shit.
Right. And none of it matters. It's all gone now.
Yeah, all of them are obsolete. And so And anyways, I would 100% been right in the center of instigating all of this, but my ex at the time, they gave us a day off. I was like, get your ass up here, you know? So anyways, I get back from being with her all day, and dude, the whole platoon's in formation standing out at like 11 o'clock at night in the vehicles, and dudes are like swaying. There's like 2 dudes laying in the dirt. I'm like,
It's like Sunday morning formations
like,
coming back.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
And I get out of the car and they're like, get your fucking ass over here. And I'm like, what? And I'm getting my ass. I'm like, what is going on? Dude, they got in a huge fight. The one day that they gave us off, LAR and Trax got in this giant fight. Dudes were running from MPs, like 19 NJPs.
That's exactly what happens. You let guys loose.
Yeah, Marines, bro.
Did you guys have the Warriors Cafe or Warriors Bar or something like that, where it's like, whenever we got to come back to like the hooches and the whatever those huts they called them,
the elephants,
you know what I'm talking about, those big
airplane hangars.
Yeah.
What the hell did they call those?
I forgot. There was some weird name, but there's like the Warriors Chow Ha or something. All the units would end up coming there. There was like a PX there and stuff.
No, none of that was there.
Really? Yeah.
It was just the huts.
Yeah,
that
so
was
you guys are. So we
in the shitters like, without the doors.
Weird.
I hated that.
But then especially in boot camp.
Man,
dude,
I don't want to backtrack, but like, we want to talk about degrading. Going from like a kid
to being told to like,
I got to
wipe
shit
your
with
ass.
another dude.
Yeah, like
this. I have to go from my little white privileged ass cushy living life. Now I'm staring at some dude that's looking me in my soul as
you've had your own bathroom your whole life, like
leave me alone, mom. Like
yeah.
Now this dude's staring me in my soul as I take a shit. Like, dude, you want to talk about
showering.
Like, bro?
You're like trying to shower, and I love showers, dude. And now you're in there with 1,000 dudes. It's terrible,
bro. You see everything.
This is just what you deal with as a Marine.
But
dude.
like, dude, every day at Mojave, like, I'd rather go shit in a vehicle in a friggin' wag bag. Yeah, porta shitter, 150 degrees.
Dude.
You know it's hot in a porta shitter when it's 120 degrees, and you open the door and you're like.
Yes.
You come outside.
That's such a relief,
dude.
Like, and the sweat feels cold on you. You know, you're just dying.
With the DVD player just sweating his ass off. Like, what were you doing in there, bro? It's 150 degrees.
Dude, those DVD players got passed around to everybody.
Oh my god, bro! Talk about I wouldn't even touch one at this stage of my life, and dudes are just passing DVD players off.
And I think there's such a time in the Marine Corps where it's like, I mean, for us, like, technology advances and we don't get to use any of it because we're never here doing stuff. But like seeing just like the transition from like having all that stuff and going into a deployment and not being able to have any of that and seeing where like life travels to, dude, there's so much time in the Marine Corps where it's like, there's all these like micro stories where it's like the porta shitters incidents, you know, like burning shit, like all these different things that have happened in the Marine Corps that like create these stories and create this timeline for you. Yeah. But like life passes you up, but you're still like going through all this stuff. It's just so wild that war is what is thought about, especially with the Marine Corps. And you talk to anybody and like, oh, that's cool, you know, and like you've gone to war and that's what you think is it's fighting. And dude, 90% of your time is filled with
getting fucked with.
Yes, and these random stories, dude.
Which is like, what built my experience. Like, even let's say getting deployed, take it out of the picture.
Yeah.
But just did everything else, it's still the wildest time of your life. With just
19
as a child, and they're just giving me a machine gun. Like,
you're going through puberty still. You're still
trying to figure yourself out. And you're getting your ass chewed for somebody else screwing up and mass punishment.
Who might be older than you, but you know sometimes is younger than you, and you're like, this doesn't make sense.
Or I'm in charge of some guy that's been in longer than me because he fucked up somewhere. And now I have to like talk down to some like 20-something-year-old, and I'm 19. Dude. Like,
or I had a buddy that went to Woonawari Battalion, and he was or one of the battalion, like 8th Reg or something like that, and they put him in charge of Marines that have been deployed and got fucked up, or like we had a big drug stain in our unit, and these dudes like were selling like pounds of drugs, and he's like in charge of these guys until their PCS. He's like, what am I gonna say to them? It's like I'm a comms guy that just get, you know what I mean? It's just crazy.
That's like that, dude. The drug rings alone. They were doing these inspections,
stuff.
and guys were getting caught with full, not like meth labs, but like damn near close. Dudes had chop shops. They were going around all the guys that were deployed. They were taking their motorcycles and they were just putting pipes through the tires and bringing them into the rooms and breaking them down.
That's crazy.
This dude got caught with a whole like rattlesnake sting. He was going out into like Tango Tea out in Pendleton,
a rattlesnake,
and flipping over all this shit. And he had like these cages
just in his barracks,
in the barracks room, because like
people
back then
don't understand.
They don't realize like what was like, dude, and it was wild, bro. Like the barracks.
That's what I'm saying. That's another part where it's just like you can do a whole series on just the barracks.
Oh my god,
dude!
Bro.
Like
I saw a dude get lit on fire at the barracks.
We've had guys jump off the third deck at the barracks, like climb to the third. Like it is like that's what I'm saying, dude. All these small stories are like. Are the
what
stuff
make
that
Marines
Marines, and the stuff you don't hear about. You hear about war, especially 20 years plus of the war going on. You hear about that, but like Band of Brothers, Pacific, and these things that are out, and they portray war in such a light, and it's like, nah, dude, like this is war. Like you want to talk about war? Like we had to set up our own chow hall and our own tents and things like that, or we had to burn our own shit for months on end.
Bro.
So like that, like you said, burning batteries, like you're burning everything. And it's like these are the things that happen in war. Like the battles and things like that go on for like such a minor period.
Hours
exactly.
Of that. But like how many times were you standing around a burn pit throwing giant lithium batteries in it and watching the little blue freaking thing shoot out of it while everybody laughs and like pokes
and
at it.
You're sitting there, you're inhaling all those fumes and everything. You
burning
don't know.
shit. I mean, that was a 12-hour plus event, and so like I got labeled the shitty NCO for a little while because I was always getting in trouble.
Yeah, well, of course.
Right? Like
that's what you do.
Yeah,
that's what you do.
I had to fuck with everything, but I ended up getting in trouble, and so I got put in charge of the shit burning detail. But like, then we had these female Marines that came out because they wanted to like lead the fob, and they came out to where we were running.
Yeah, like lionesses come out. Is that what you guys said?
Yeah, lionesses. And so we were living out of a VCP. We were running a vehicle checkpoint outside of this town, so everybody that came and went, we were in control of everything, the flow of the city. And so these women came out and they wanted to like help because you couldn't even look at female Iraqis or anything like that. So they'd bring these chicks out, and then they would come out during the day.
19 years old and like don't look at it, and you're like, I'm gonna look. So
these females come out. And they'd come out during the day, and then they would take them back in the evening, and then they ended up wanting to stay. And so
we were at that was kind of like for us. We had BAT systems. I don't know if you guys had that.
We ran the very first.
Yeah. Okay, so we had in Iraq. We had I think it was called a backscatter machine, and they would drive past.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, we did the same thing.
We would scan the vehicle.
You see how like you
could change all the colors.
Yeah,
dude. I'm standing inside of this
kids inside this. Inside vehicles, you're just blasting radiation as they walk by.
just push. Yes, dude. Or you'd have one of your buddies run by, like, hold on, we got to see if it's working. And I'd have this guy just run by like 10 times every morning, and I'd just zap him. God damn. No, but the burning shit thing, dude, that was. You want to talk about like a culture just.
Yes.
I mean, we're getting these 50-gallon drums. You're cutting them down to like quarter size. We had to build these wooden shack shitters, pretty much, that were like when the wind would blow, you're hanging onto the wall.
You've got a weighed down water bottle to open and shut the door. Like, it's crazy.
With some 550 cord. Yeah. Well, these lionesses, these female Marines came out and they wanted to stay with us, so we had to build them their own shitter, and so we built 2 of them, and we explained to them that they had this staff sergeant. Man, she hated me because I was a sergeant and I was my lieutenant's driver. So
it's hard. I could imagine it's hard for females in the Marine Corps or any branch talking to combat dudes in any sense, especially like on deployment. It's like,
and they're coming out to us.
You're a staff sergeant, but
and we've been there a while. Right. We feel we're pretty salty and crusty, and they come off the fob. They're not even a haircut. That's why I'm burning shit, because I refuse to get a haircut and shave. So these females come out and they're perfect clean, and so. But anyways, I explained to them like, listen, staff sergeant. you need to tell your women, your females, we built you 2 shitters. You have to shit in one and piss in another. Because us, we'd put those just tubes in the ground. PVC.
Fill
make
them
your
up,
boot,
move a new one.
make your boot, dig a 10-foot hole, PVC pipe, fill it in, and you'd piss in it. Well, we told them, like, listen, like, shit in one, piss in the other. I don't know how difficult it's going to be for y'all, but you need to do that. Dude, these women...
Just destroyed it.
It's like burning shit day, and we go over there, and dude,
it's all mixed, so you can't burn it. People don't understand that.
It's literally 2 cut in half barrels full of chili. Yeah, and I'm looking at this like, fuck, like a normal shitter takes 12 hours. Like you're burning from 4 a.m. until you go to bed. Diesel starting all day.
Yeah.
So we get these chicks and. I'm like, Staff Sergeant, give me a couple of your women. Like, you guys got to burn shit. She's like, we're not burning shit. I'm like, you're burning your shit. Yeah. I'm not burning your shit for you. She's like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I was like, hold, please. I go over to Lieutenant. I'm like, yo, sir, this Staff Sergeant's giving me hell. Like, and he you know, and I was like a made man.
What are you going to say to somebody? It's just like, you just been hating life. And
now I have to burn your shit.
Because they want to stay.
Yeah, exactly. Because they had something to prove.
Could you imagine if we had the option, like, you know what, I think I'm going to stay on base tonight. We're like,
so I'll get to that.
Yes.
So we get these girls. We get 2 of them, and I'm like, "Hey, that vehicle over there's got the diesel in it. Go grab a fuel can, bring it over." Well, they're like, they couldn't even carry this fucking fuel can. They're dragging it, and my vehicle's parked right next to us. So when they would go and get their fuel, we would just fill ours up from our little external tap. Yeah. So they never put the process. They never put it together. Like we never had to go get fuel. Yeah, ours was just always full. But anyways,
they're just so fast.
So this female Marine. She's like, well, anyway, they're pissed, bro. They're just throwing tantrums. She's like, so what do I have to do? And you know the old engineer stakes, the fence posts, how they had the groove in them?
Yep.
I was like, well, just pour like half that in there and light it, and then you got to just stir it in, and you got to stir it all day to burn the liquid. You're just evaporating the moisture out of the shit is all you're doing. And so she lights it. She puts that engineer stake in, but like groove side down, so it created that little channel.
Yeah.
And she stirs it, and that flame travels all the way up and just hits her dead and melts. Eyelashes.
100% claim right there.
Yeah, she's 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, she's 100%. Life, you're welcome. Dude, fries all the hair on her face. She freaks out. Dude, has this complete meltdown. They never came back.
Yeah.
They burned shit one day. And we literally had to take our 3 barrels, lift their pots of liquid chili, piss and shit, and put on top of ours to boil it. And dude, it was boiling out of theirs. And like, that's the Marine Corps.
And people don't understand it. And so Jarhead came out right as I was like, right as I'm like going to boot camp, right? So I'm like super like, oh, Moto. I'm like, this is going to be an amazing war movie. They portrayed it so cool. You know, Kanye West song was, in the trailer. And so I was like, this is going to be dope as shit. And I watch it. It was before I go to boot camp, and I'm like, that movie was terrible. Mm-hmm. I'm like, it was absolutely miserable. I'm like, that didn't make any sense. Got into the fleet, deployed to Iraq, rewatched it, and I was like, this is spot on. Mm-hmm. I'm like, this is what happens. Dudes just get complacent. They just, we got to Afghanistan. We were doing patrols. We were doing stuff around base, and we were, still training like we were in the rear, but we were waiting for all our gear to get there and start pushing and stuff. But
let's get to Afghan.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk. Let's get to you getting blown up. So, you get back from Iraq, boring as shit. You get, you think you're gonna go back to Iraq, so you're doing your another workup. So go back and demil Ramadi and
just get rid of everything.
And then they tell you guys you're going to Afghan.
Yeah.
And what went through your mind then? I mean, obviously you did one kind of.
Yeah, did a pump, but it didn't feel like a pump. You know what I mean? I think like it.
Did it not feel like a pump at that time, or once you did Afghan, you're like, oh, that wasn't shit?
Kind of both.
Okay.
Like we were there and we're like,
more?
yeah, okay. And I think it's also, you get back, you're like, I'm not a boot anymore. And it's like senior guys like, you're still fucking boots.
Yeah, you didn't do shit.
You didn't do shit. Like, you don't, and it's just like, it was frustrating. But when we found out about it, Afghanistan, it was like, people were like excited, dude. They were stoked. Like, I remember, like, I don't know who it was. It was probably, like, the battalion commander, division commander, somebody comes out and it's like, hey, we're going to Afghanistan. And, like, everybody just erupts, like, super excited. And then I think it was, we got extended for a couple months. We were supposed to leave, like, a month after we got back from CAX. We were going to go on leave and stuff. Yeah. But, so we got pushed back. We didn't have any any ranges, nothing set up. So we would go to like ranges that weren't being held, and we didn't have any clearance, and we'd go over there and we'd shoot or
Really?
we'd do patrols. Yeah, it was crazy. Like our lieutenant would take us, and he was great. Like he kept us like in the fight. Even when we got to Afghanistan, we were still waiting for all our stuff. There was no trucks, there was no crew serves. Like everything we had was on ship still, other than like our personal gear. So like Lieutenant Smythe just like took us training. Like we patrolled around base. We went for runs. We did.
How horrible was all this?
Um,
I mean, you're in Afghanistan, and you're not even like leaving the wire. You're just patrolling around base. Like,
yes, and it's like the type of dudes we are. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, this is bullshit. Like I was kind of I would consider myself a shitbag, but I think we all would. But I just like sandbag everything. You know what I mean? I remember we got our plate carriers one time, and we go for a run with our squad. This is like after we find out we're going to Afghanistan, because before we just had everything we got was for Iraq. And we go for a run, and we got these plate carriers, and everybody's got plates in, and I'm just sandbagging at the end because I didn't want to go for a run, and I wasn't planning on it that day. You know what I mean? I'm like, I was kind of checked out at that point, and I remember my buddy Serge runs past me. He's coming back from a run, and he's like, "Oh shit, motivator!" I was like, "I don't have any sappy plates in it." You know what I mean? Like I just
yeah.
You know,
we cut the foam out of the 40 Mike cans. You know, the 40 millimeter.
Yeah.
It had those big foam. I literally, dude, you and I are just we're fucking we're covered.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's just it's energy, bro. We're attracted to each other. We just find each other. Like
we took our sappies out. And anybody listening to the sappy plates, I don't even know what they call them now, are just plate carrier.
They're probably the E-sappies is what we had, like the ceramic ones.
Ours were ceramic, like 2-inch thick.
Yeah, these things are
plates that went inside of your vest. We took ours out, and the foam was the same thickness as your sappy plates. And we cut them. We cut the foam out, and so it left the
because you're in a vehicle, dude. It's miserable being in that all day.
Oh,
yeah.
Bro, so we cut.
And people don't understand that. Imagine being in like a Toyota Corolla with a full combat load.
With no AC.
With no,
130 degree. You touch the wall inside of there, and it melts your leg. Like
everything's metal, so nothing's comfortable, and you're just like, you got this combat load, and you're in the tiniest vehicle.
And I'm sitting in a chair that was built in some Vietnam vet sat in it, and I'm sitting in his same exact seat. Like, like nothing has changed. It's miserable. So you find little things to like. And like taking your place, and then people are like, dude, you're gonna, if we get hit, I'm like, if I get hit in this vehicle,
it doesn't matter, you're fucked.
I'm fucked.
Especially you guys.
You think some plate carrier is gonna save my life? Hell, I mean, I'm sure there's guys out there like it saved my life.
Yeah.
But like, dude, if we get, we're catastrophic. If we get
fuel that's in there, the ammo, like it's a bad day.
Yeah, and if there's a round there, if it's making it through the hull of this vehicle, we're fucked. Like
RPG hits or something, you know, like
we're made out of aluminum, and we're just literally a giant beer can. And so to me, I was like, I don't want to live if we get hit. Like it's gonna be miserable.
And listen to James Nash's story, and you know him saying some of the guys that came back were pretty miserable. It's like I mean. You know, it's war. Like, and I think that's what, when we got to Afghanistan, like, that's what we got. Like, it was what I'd imagine your guys' push was in going through Iraq, but where we were in, like, Southern Helmand, for us in 2009, we were the first to go. We went with the 2nd MAB and Echo Company specifically from 2-8, and, like, 2-8, we were, like, tip of spear. We were the first ones in. We pushed, and I feel like our deployment's kind of like the Prelude, because everybody talks about Marja and Sangin and everything in like 2010 and 11, but it's like, man, in 2009, like we were getting chewed up. Yeah, man. Like we were fighting, man. Like we got out there in May. Operations started July 2nd, and it was like, dude, it was a fight. That first month was just like nonstop.
How long were you? So once you guys actually started operating, how long was it before you guys were like, okay, these guys are here to fight, and they're playing for keeps?
We were trucks, and for us we were outside of the wire like maybe a couple weeks before operations started. So we didn't really. There was IEDs and stuff that went on, but I think the Taliban was kind of like assessing and seeing what was going on. But
because it's new to them too,
right? Yeah, we're the first forces have been there since the initial invasion.
So they're testing,
right? And they're you can see they're out looking at Camp Leatherneck and stuff, and like watching us and that, and you can just kind of tell, you know what I mean? But it's we get there. So we were, it's kind of the same thing with you guys. I'm sure, like you guys line up, getting your sticks. Okay, we're going today. We're not going today. We'll do this again tomorrow. We did that for probably a week. We were supposed to go supposed to start, I think, like July 1st, and something happened where some intel got leaked or something like that, and we ended up having to push it, or weather wasn't good or something. So we pushed it to the 2nd, but we started July 2nd, and we had the biggest helo insertion since Vietnam. So there was like,
Really?
dude, like 50 something helicopters.
Were you part of this?
I was in truck, so we weren't a part of that. I was weapons company, so we weren't a part of that. But all my buddies in Echo, because I came from Echo, and I when I was in Iraq, I was in Echo, and then we got switched, and they switched a bunch of guys around, and I went to weapons. But it started July 2nd, and they get inserted, and I want to say within like the first like 45 minutes or so, like Echo Company gets in a firefight, they lose. Sharp is the first guy to get killed, like, you know, like an hour or so into like
an hour of being on the ground. They're already
and Sharp and I were roommates when I was in Iraq, so it was like it was crazy, man. And so
what's that like? Like, I mean, how long was it until you got word that he had gotten hit?
So they were in like a 9-hour firefight, and we get word so we get word that night. We're a couple hours away. For us, they were just kind of like trying to see where they needed us, essentially, before they sent us out. But there was other companies out fighting with them, like in trucks and stuff. But we get word that night, like July 2nd, we hear over the radio, like, hey, Echo our lieutenant comes up. He's like, Echo just took a casualty today. You guys they're down on water, chow, and ammo. They're like, we need to load up our trucks with as much as we can. And like at that time, we had 4 trucks, full section of like Max Pros and MRAPs. And for anybody who doesn't know what those are, they're massive, like up armor vehicles. They're built so that they can take blast. By this time, you know, IEDs
they got the V holes and everything on them. Yeah,
the bottoms are built like V's. They take blast. Everything's made to blow off of it, so you can just replace it, take it. You know, great vehicles for IEDs. You know, you put big enough one, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But we had 4 of those. We started off with 4 of those, and we loaded everything up, man. Like, I remember being in the gun and just, like, I'm on top of ammo cans. Like, we're stacked to the ceiling.
Right.
Yeah, like, we're sitting on ammo cans with chow and, you know, and everything. So we got word they were going out, and we heard it was Echo 3 Sierra is, like, the word that came out. It was killed, and like, we're just trying to, like, I had another Lasher, who was in my truck, who was killed. He also came from Echo. My senior guy, Dan Spalding, who was behind me, when we got blown up, he came from Echo. He was my senior guy. And then Doc Parr came from Echo, who was in my truck also. So we're all like, who is this? You know, and it's never who you think. It's never like, you never like, oh, I know for sure it's Sharp, or I know for sure it's so-and-so. It's all like, and Sharp was just an amazing dude. It's like an amazing smile, just like a great person from Georgia, just like a good person, you know, and you would never think, you know what I'm saying? So we get down there, we're trying to rack our brain, and the next morning, I've got like pictures and stuff of us loading up, and we've got like Willie P grenades, we've got like, you know, claymores and laws, and we're taking everything with us, and we get down to Echo, and I remember getting in, they took over a school. There was like a bazaar next to it and stuff. So they had like their fob built up by that time. It was Cop Sharp at that time. And we get there, and we're like, I'm in the truck. We're kind of in the middle of like the whole fob. So we don't really have anywhere to shoot. Like, as soon as we get in, a firefight breaks out for like 10, 15 minutes, nothing crazy. But we're trying to figure out who it was. And
so you still don't know? No,
we're still there. And I'm asking everybody, and everybody's trying, like, being quiet because we're still so new there, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know where anybody is. We don't know where any, like, Taliban are and stuff. Like, it was fucking crazy. And so I ended up, you know, I'm trying to talk to somebody and other people. I just couldn't believe it. And then Spalding comes up, and he was like, it was Sharp. And Spalding knew Sharp, and everybody knew Sharp. But, yeah, it was wild, man. It was like, that was the first time Echo Company had lost anybody since Vietnam, I believe. So it's like, you know, it's kind of a big blow, and then you know the guy, you know what I mean? And as bad as it sounds, you're like, I hope it's a boot, you know? I hope it's somebody I don't know, you know?
People are going to hear that and be like, how the fuck can you say
Yeah,
that?
like very callous or cavalier about it, you know. But
but you have that bond
Yes.
with your boys, and then obviously Boots
and
are
then
your new.
right.
So I mean, if it's like a boot, you're like, oh fuck, it sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all
And
this.
then Boots have their bond, you know, and it goes the same thing, and that's just kind of how it goes, and that's kind of how the name Boot came around, you know.
I mean, you don't ever want it to be anybody, but like you definitely don't want it to be your boys that you've
Yeah.
deployed with,
You know,
gone
their
through boot camp
family,
with.
you've met them,
You've gone
yeah.
on leave and gone back to their home.
Right,
I mean,
right.
it's different for sure.
It is, you know, and yeah, dude, from that like point on, getting there was just like a fight. Like, so that was July 2nd. We got hit July 23rd, but that whole time was just like nonstop. Morning prayer. As soon as the last note ended, boom, firefight.
So they're waiting.
Oh yeah, dude, it was 100%. Like you would.
And you're in a
hear-
little fob.
So it was like not little, fairly. I mean, it was a small like elementary school.
Okay.
You know, it might have had like a second story. I don't really remember, but I remember there being like small classrooms, guys loaded up with their ISO mats laying there. We were on our trucks,
Yeah.
so we got to sleep on that. And
So are you positioned like in a valley or is it flat? Like where are
it's
you?
all flat, yeah.
Okay.
Where we were, there was like.
So are they mortar? Are you guys taking mortar? Like how are
taking
they
everything.
engaging from you guys if you guys are flat? Like where are they at?
So around us are other buildings. There's a bazaar there.
Okay.
But around us are other like little compounds.
Okay.
And there's the river or the canal or whatnot, and then it's like Cowboys and Redskins is the two roads, and you kind of cross between them. You can cross the river at any points, or
Okay.
you know. So where we are, like everybody's set up in a perimeter, but these guys are shooting from like, dude, 200 meters. Buildings are close. Like we're like these dudes are still on top of us
They're
when we
on
get
you.
there. Yeah.
Okay. So
The
I
first
keep
day we were there,
forgetting
they
you
dropped the
guys.
JDAM, like, dude, danger close. Like, I remember Nick telling me, Nick was
First
like,
day you were there.
first day,
You
dude.
dropped a JDAM danger close.
Yes. Like, when I say, like, the building we're in, like, Top Golf. Like, danger close, dude. Like, I'm taking a video, and Nick's like, hey,
Not
they're
having a
coming
clue what a JDAM.
no clue. Yeah, no clue, dude. Like,
No clue.
no idea. And Nick's like, hey, can you get a video? They're going to bring a JDAM, and it's dropping, like, in this direction. I'm like, all right. So I'm, like, filming it. And this video, dude, I'm like, I got this video, and then this thing just drops, and I, like, drop in the truck. Like, I thought we were getting bombed. It was so close, dude. It was nuts. It was war, bro. Like, everything you see, you're just like, it was crazy, man. And so that comes in.
The first day you were there, they
dude,
dropped the JDAM.
just destroying buildings, dude.
Because you guys are the first ones, so there's
We're the first people that have been there since Russia, probably. You know, we're the furthest south any coalition forces had gone at that time.
So they're ready.
Yes, we're in the canal that the Russians and
man.
everybody had built, like in the 70s and stuff. Like they're in there, and we're 100 miles from Pakistan, and we're just, we're pushing north. But dude, it was a fight that first month, like nonstop.
Every day.
Like, every day. It would during the hottest part of the day, it would break off. They would chill out, and then right before nightfall, boom, firefight, and you just get into it for an hour or so, and then night would come, and you get pop shots, and they try and keep you on your toes and stuff like that. But nothing too crazy. But man, I mean, helicopters were getting shot at. Like they would bring in supplies and just drop them with a net, and those helicopters were getting shot, hitting with AK rounds. Like they were close. Like I remember, I think it was a female pilot. They got shot down, and they had to land, fix some stuff, and I think they were able to get back up in the air. But dude, it was crazy, man. Like we fought really hard, like what I'd imagine your guys' Iraq was and stuff. And when like halfway through the month or so, we just get like ICOM chatter, and they're saying like the Marines are too strong. Like we
So
can't.
the
fight
ICOM, you guys are listening. For everybody listening, you guys are listening to their radio.
Yeah. And we're listening. So yes, we're listening to their stuff. So it's funny, like James, you're talking about James Nash and how you guys were talking that we're listening to their radios and stuff, and you're like, it's eerie. And so I know a buddy I met later on. He was with LAR. And I forget his exact job. I don't remember his MOS, but while he was there, he had some specific job where he was with a Terp, like interpreting these ICON chatters and stuff. And he goes, dude, you want to talk about intimate? He goes, his experience with the Taliban was so much more intimate than ours. Like, he
Oh,
knew
for
their
sure.
voices, he knew their names, their personal conversations that we had. Think about it,
I
dude.
never thought of it like
Think
that.
about that. Like, imagine how we're fucking off in our trucks, like talking internally, and the enemy can decipher that and listen to it, and we're having conversations about family. We're having conversations about movements and things like that. He's listening to this on a Taliban level. And he's like, dude, he's like, it was crazy because you would hear about these guys, you would hear their voices, and you would get attached to them. He goes, and then you would find out they're dead. Or you would find out who they killed or what they've been involved in, and then you're putting together these puzzle pieces that you've heard the whole time, and you're like, your spatial awareness of everything else is so much greater because you're hearing about everything. Like,
I would love to sit down and talk to him.
Mike's an amazing dude, and I think he doesn't watch anything.
Yeah.
He's one of those vets that's just like it's tough for him. And Sergeant Lang, who was in LAR, was killed the same day we got hit in July. So it's just like little things like that you meet, and you're just like, we shouldn't even meet, but we
Somehow cross
right,
paths, yeah.
you know. So we fought really hard, and ICOM came over that we're too tough. We're gonna put in IEDs. So that's what it was, man. There's IEDs everywhere, like in everything. We got hit. We left Echo at one point to go get resupplied, go get refueled and stuff, and we got hit. We hit an IED on the way out. We're down to like one MRAP at the time because Motor T took two of our MRAPs, so now we're in Humvees again.
Oh, God.
We get hit on the way out. Our drive back is like 2 or 3 hours, and then we get
Just
halted
from getting fuel?
to do everything, to get everything. We had no ammo, we had no fuel, we had no water, so we were going back to go do like QRF for a week. And then we were gonna go back to Echo and help out. Kind of, you know, when you're mobilized, you do everything. You're with everybody, you know. So we were gonna go back to Echo, and we got hit on the way out. Next day we get to Delhi. I think it was like a small patrol base. I think it was like a British base or something that we would go and like sleep and stuff. But we get there, we kind of resupply, and then we're going to like recover these 2 vehicles that got stuck. The next day, and when the truck behind us gets hit. So it's like in 2 days we just hit IEDs. Like, we hadn't dealt with any IEDs up till that point.
And now it's a daily
Everywhere.
thing.
Just
yeah.
you couldn't move, you know what I mean? And
What's
like,
that feel like? Like, I mean, you know your time's coming.
and I was just talking about this in the car on the way up. Like, yeah, it's a numbers game, dude. Like, you get in a vehicle, like you were talking about doing 100 missions with Nash. Like, you get in a vehicle, and every time you get in, you're like, it's which one is it? You know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's just the luck of the draw.
Which vehicle's going to be this
Right.
time, yeah.
You know, and when we did get hit eventually, we were in a Humvee, unfortunately, and it was just like catastrophic. Those things aren't built for it. We hit like 100 pounds of homemade explosives.
Okay, so walk me through that day.
Okay. So we're back at Delhi, and we're getting ready to go back to Echo. We just came back from like Dwyer, wherever the Motor T was, and they're like, we have a MRAP for you, or a Max Pro, but it doesn't have any AC, and we can't let it go out the wire. It'll just overheat, and basically it wasn't going to work for us. So they're like, come back in a week, and it's like, dude, we can't can't come back in a week. Like, okay, hey guys, we're out of here.
Yeah.
You know, so we're like, okay, we'll, you know, get it ready, whatever. So they give us a Humvee. Humvee is a brand new Humvee, up armored, and just like, you know, they're just flat, just built like your tracks, like, you know, just
Not for IEDs.
no, not for anything. Those things suck. They get stuck. They're cool looking, but
They suck.
they have no power, nothing, you know. So we get that, and we had that morning. I remember being at I want to say it's Delhi, the small patrol base, writing out some letters. I guess I talked to another buddy, Paulie, who helped with the Gold Star Day. Talked to him about, I guess I was talking to them and telling them what was going on because they hadn't been down where we were yet. They were still kind of waiting to get into it, and did that. We did our movement back to Echo Company, and on our way in, it's our 4 trucks, 2 Humvees.
Where are you
three
in
Humvees.
the position?
We're 3rd truck.
And what are you driving, gunner, or what?
I'm gunner. Yeah. I'm the gunner. We have a corpsman in our truck, so we're the 3rd Vic. So I want to say it was 3 Humvees and 1 Max Pro, and so we're driving in. As we're going in, I remember halting for whatever reason. We were stopped, like we had to stop I don't even know what the reason was, but when we stopped, there was a civilian vehicle that was like stuck in the sand. So our lieutenant's like, "Hey, let's go help him out," and we pull out our toe straps and stuff, and we go to pull them out, and we break our toe strap, and which like seems irrelevant in the situation. Nobody really thought of anything, but when we get to Echo Company, for anybody who doesn't know how Afghanistan, where we were at least, was laid out, it was all like open desert, and then there was compounds that you would drive through, and there would be like
Compounds like a little town.
like huts, yeah, like little huts. It'd be like a little small hut with like a big, like, because it was all farmland, so it'd be like big like mud hut walls around it or something like that, and you would go from compound to compound. It was, it's beautiful, palm trees, and it's, it's a desert, it's beautiful, and just like super biblical. What you would think of, like, you'd think
the
of
Middle East.
Yes, so you get in, we go through this one compound, and right before we get to the compound, the road is either Redskin or Cowboys, but before we get out of it, there's like a little wadi, a little drainage ditch from like flooding their fields and stuff. So they had found IED. One of our other sections found IED like the day before. So our plan was to send 2 trucks into Echo, and then they were going to send 2 trucks out, and we were going to set up security on that wadi so that nobody would come in and blow us up. So we did that. My truck and the 4th truck stayed. 1 and 2 went in. Other section sent out 2 trucks. We went in, they stayed on there, and then the plan was for us to go in, their last 2 trucks to roll out, and then they were going to leave. We were going to, take back over for them. And that's the same road we got blown up on the week before. So we go back into the fob. We get into Echo's Paws, and our main truck is slipping into the canal, and now we don't have any toe straps. So the toe straps are on the 2 trucks that just relieved us. So now we basically flip a Yui, and we start hauling ass. So we go.
So you're by yourself. Is that one truck still stuck?
One truck stuck. So it's just Spalding's truck. My senior guy, he's behind us, and we're in front. So then we flip around. We wind up in front. They come up behind us, and we're just hauling ass, trying to get it. It's a huge truck. If that thing falls in the canal, we're fucked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no getting it out until we get a wrecker there, and who knows when that's happening. So we're hauling ass, and I remember being on the road, being up in the gun, and I've got like I'm leaned up against the turret. I've got my leg up on the radio, and I'm holding on to the handles that are in there. And I see the crater from the week before, and I'm like, all right, we're about to hit this. Anybody who's been in the gun, like, there's no, imagine standing on the sunroof and somebody's just like behind down
the desert. Yes.
Like, so you get launched, dude. They made harnesses for guys so they wouldn't get tossed out. But I see this crater, and I kind of tense up, get prepared to like take this like, this jolt that we're about to get, and it was lights out. As soon as we hit that crater.
So they put another IED.
Yeah, they put another IED in there. There maybe been 6-8 trucks that had already passed over it. So we don't know. It was a pressure plate, but we don't know if what we're assuming is that the IED was already in there. They put it in like that week and then waited when there was a convoy because they knew someone's going to resupply or something. So they waited for us to come in, and then they connected it. So we ended up getting hit and running over that. And the next thing I remember is everything was black. I remember thinking like, oh, wow, I can't see anything. And then feeling like you're on a roller coaster, or like you pit of your stomach, you like take those drops and you're just like, oh, like, like a roller coaster ride.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that. Like, and I'm assuming it was me being like tossed in the air or like flipping around.
Really?
But it just felt like if you do a flip or you're on a trampoline or something, just really weird. And I remember just being like, oh, this is weird. Like, I don't understand. Like, why do I feel like this? And then eventually landing and being on the ground and really confused. Like, I remember being on the ground and like looking around, like I'm on my back, my Kevlar, my helmet's around my neck, like, like it, because I never wore it.
Stays on either.
Anyway. So I'm like laying there, and I'm just like, I'm kind of like dazed and just like looking around, and I'm like, okay, I was just in a truck. I'm like, why am I not in the truck? I'm like, what is going on? Like, it's like, you get knocked out. You don't understand, you're the percussion of everything. And I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, what? So it was a couple seconds went in, and I was like, holy shit, we got hit. Like that, I was like, immediately, I was like, holy shit, we got hit. So I went to go stand, and I couldn't, like, my legs wouldn't move. My right leg was like super mangled. I went to go stand up, and I remember seeing my foot on the ground, like laying sideways, and my leg lifting off the ground and nothing moving.
Oh my God.
And I remember being like, if it was like camis or something, that camis or meat or whatever still kind of attached, and my other leg was just like, I couldn't move, and just like shattered my ankle and stuff. But
How far are you from the vehicle?
man, I think I was like 20 or 30 feet
Really?
in the vehicle. Yeah, I got tossed. We hit 100 pounds, man. Like,
You had 100 pounds
it's
in a
huge.
Humvee?
We hit like 40 the week prior with the MRAP, and it blew like the massive tire off, like these CrossFit flipping tires with the
Yeah.
wheel. Like
That
it
was
blew
40?
one. That was like, yeah, that was like 40, and it just destroyed it. And we got hit the week later, and I got tossed out, and I remember like seeing like, holy shit, like I'm fucked up. Like, so I start looking for like my tourniquet and everything, and just like nothing was on my flak. Like everything was gone.
Really?
Couldn't find anything. Yeah, everything was like blown off. I had a Willie P grenade on me when I
Gone.
got blown up. No clue where it went. So lucky, dude. Like the turret, I remember looking over to me, and the turret was laying next to me, like 10,
blew the
15
turret
meters.
off
Yes,
the-
dude. It was massive. Like this turret, and these turrets are maybe 1,000 pounds.
Bolted on.
Bolted on, 1,000 pounds plus a gun. They said the gun was like, my rifle was somewhere. I don't even know if they found my rifle. Yeah, dude. Like it was crazy. Like so. And that's just me. Like Nick, who was in our truck, who was killed, he was in his seat, completely blown out still. Like his whole driver's seat, he was like blown out of the truck. He was still in his seat when they found him. Yeah, it was crazy. Doc Parr was behind Lasher, and I think Lasher took the brunt of it. Like Lasher took the entire explosion because
Front passenger?
front driver.
Okay.
Front driver, yeah. Nick was a VC, and I think Lasher took the brunt of it, and you know how that goes. But yeah, it was nuts, dude. And it was the biggest thing we had at that time, also. And so I'm on the ground. I remember just like looking for tourniquets, couldn't find it, and I have these two of my boots come up, and like, I don't know. Anybody who knows me knows how I was with boots.
Yeah,
knows how I
yeah.
am with anybody who
Yeah.
like just ruthless and relentless. And they end up coming up to me. I'm like, "What are you boots doing? Don't touch me." You know, they
I
start.
got it.
Yeah. They start laughing. Oh, okay, Lance Corporal. I'm like, seriously, don't fucking touch me. Like I'm telling them, and
Are you sitting up at this point?
I'm still like kind of like laying on my back, like everything's like blown off me, and they come
and
up.
you don't
and
know how the guys,
No
their
clue.
status is in the vehicle. You're still trying to
Yeah.
put your pieces
Yeah.
together. of what-
So
okay.
so they get up to me, and then Spalding, the other truck, gets up to me. My two boots put tourniquets on me. They did them wrong. So
Boots.
right, so Castle, he came from security forces, I want to say. It's just like his first deployment in that, and he comes up, puts tourniquets on. Spalding's there. They
How
cover
did that
my
feel?
eyes.
I mean, how much pain were you in at this point? It had
There's
started
no
to set
pain.
in?
No pain. Like that, and if anybody would like portray that to you, like when you get blown up, like there's really not much pain. Like there wasn't a ton of blood. Like it was crazy. Like I was like pretty coherent, kind of talking with guys still. Like I took shrapnel to the eyes, so they had my eyes covered. I remember laying there and like somebody's talking. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Like shut the fuck up. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm like just so
blown up.
irritated
Shut the
this
fuck
time. Yeah,
up right
you
now,
know.
yeah.
And it was Lieutenant Phillips. He goes, "Hey, it's Lieutenant Phillips in Davila." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir." He's like, "No, you're good, man. Don't worry about it. Like, it's just chaos, but it's like it's a symphony. Everybody like starts moving, and the guys that hope that they know what they're doing. It all just kind of comes into play for the most part. So they come up to me. I remember Spalding getting there, and that was like my first question. I was like, "Where's Lasher and where's Nick and Doc Parr?" And I can hear moans, and I'm blown off the side of the road. Everybody else is at their own crime scene. I'm on my own, and they're just like, "Oh, everybody's up there. Everybody's good," and not really thinking of it, just kind of like trying to still get my bearings and that, and
And you're blindfolded.
blindfolded. I can't see anything. So, and then also like Castle's like, hey, you got a lot of blood like coming from somewhere. Like, where's this blood coming from? And he like rips open my camis, and like I've got this huge gash on my thigh. And I just remember he gets these combat gauze, which are like, if anybody's seen movies, they're like quick clot but gauze. And I can feel his fingers in my leg, like as he's packing this wound with gauze.
So you know it's serious at this point.
And I know it's serious, but also like super naive and just like being a Marine, thinking like, oh, I'm gonna be back. I'll be back. And Spalding was like, they told me, they're like, hey, your boys are good, like you're still good, like you got your nuts and everything down there, and your tattoos are still good, like, and you're going back home, like you're good. And I was just like, I'm going to come back. Like, I'll be back. This is the beginning of deployment. I'll be back by the end of it. I'll get a leg, or, at that time, being an amputee wasn't even a thought. And I was like, yo, Spalding, how's my leg look? And he's like, you want me to be honest? I'm like, yes. He's like, dude, it's fucked up. It looks like an S. He's like, it's mangled. And he's like, we got to reset your other leg and put it like in a splint. So I remember being blindfolded and just like screaming. He's like, dude, this is the most terrifying scream I've ever heard in my life. And he's like,
have you felt pain like that since?
No. It was absolutely, I can't comprehend that pain anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, probably I know that it was, I know it was brutal, and there wasn't really too much pain. There wasn't a ton of blood, but, and like those parts where it's like resetting my leg, and he's like, dude, you stopped on a dime. And then he's like, Davila. I'm like, what? And he's like, I'm sorry, bud. I thought you went somewhere. I'm like, where the fuck would I go, dude? Like, I'm laying on the ground, like,
I got tourniquets all over me. Where am I going?
Yeah, so, as comical as I make it seem, it was pretty horrific, and just like everything that was going on, like it was wild. We had Echo Company come out to us, and they got helos in the air, like. It took about 30 minutes after we got hit to get helos to us, which
is a long time.
It does. It feels long, and I remember getting on the helicopter. PJs picked us up and asking them, like, hey, how's my leg look? What do you guys think? And they're like, dude, we don't know. They're like, but it's a below the knee, and you should be good. And I'm like, I had
no idea what that meant.
Frame of reference of any of that. Being an amputee was never even thought. Like, it was just assumed like it was lights out if you get hit. You know what I mean? Like, that was just kind of the deal. Like,
live or die.
Right. And it was just eventually it was going to happen. But yeah, so I get back to the hospital, and I remember waking up. It was like a squad bay, and there's like, this is when operations started. So nobody's there. Nobody's in the hospital. I'm the only guy.
Really?
Yeah, dude. I'm the only dude in the squad bay full of beds that they're obviously preparing for guys to show up to. And I remember waking up, and there was like this Afghan like guy who's working on base, and he's just like mopping or sweeping, and he's just staring at me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, dude, I thought I was captured. Like, it was weird for a second.
No.
Like, I'm like waking up on meds. So to backtrack a little bit, I remember landing at the hospital, and everything was being built. There was nothing there, and my shoulder was dislocated. I got dislocated while I was there. So I remember starting to feel pain from that, and like going down the flight line, and it's just like bumpy because there's no cement. They haven't poured any hardball, and
they're wheeling you out in dirt.
Yes, dude.
Dang.
I remember like being wheeled, and just like I get into the hospital.
Everything.
Yes, and I'm in the tent, and I'm like, hey, I'm starting to feel pain. Like, you guys need to knock me out. And like, nobody's paying attention to me because there's a million things that they have to do for me. So I remember getting an oxygen mask put on me and being like, hey, like, is this, or whatever mask, I'm like, is this gas? I'm like, because I need to get knocked out. I am in a lot of pain. I'm like, I'm starting to feel pain. Like, this, you guys need, do your thing. And that was the last thing I remember. And then waking up in the hospital bed and seeing that guy, and I'm just like, didn't know what was going on. So I start screaming, and the corpsmen come in and stuff. And I'm like, he's got to go. Like, you got to get him out of here. I'm like, what's going on? Where is everybody? Where's Nick? And where's Sharp? Or where's Lasher? And where's Doc and everything? And they just telling me they're in a different part of this hospital. And I think Doc Parr was, but Lasher was gone immediately.
How long until you found that out?
It was probably a couple hours because they were still telling me that they were there and that. And I think it was probably for like a River City because I was able to call home and it was probably so I wouldn't contact anybody at that point. But but it was a couple hours. I remember just being like feeling relieved because I thought everybody was there and they were saying like in surgery and I found out that Lasher was gone. Nick had fought for hours. Like they were giving blood transplants. Like there was people in the hospital were just pulling blood so that they can give him blood. Like he fought for a while and he died from like massive internal bleeding. But yeah, man, getting to the hospital and like I got on the phone right away. One of the sergeants that was getting sent home, he's such a bitch. He was trying to get out of deployment and complaining about a hernia that he had. He got in country, and then he was able to get some doctor to write off. And the week before we got blown up, when we came back, he got flown out. So he's at the hospital with me waiting to get medevaced, and I'm like, you fucked a lot of dudes, you know what I mean? But yeah, it was just weird, and find out that these guys die. I call home, and right away my mom picks up, and she's just a Hispanic mother and just immediately starts bawling, and it's madness. And I like tell my mom like, hey, put my cousin Anthony on the phone. My cousin Anthony would have been an amazing Marine. Was a Chicago cop, now he's a Chicago fire, and just a dude like us. And I tell him like, hey man, I'm good. I'll be back in a couple days. Like, tell everybody I'm fine. Basically giving them the rundown. I'll talk to you guys when I can get to Germany or something. And then from there it was just, traveling to get back to the States. Went from there to maybe another hospital in Afghanistan or something, and then went to Germany. And then was in Germany for like a day or two, and then back in the States landed at Bethesda. We got hit the 23rd of July, and I got to Bethesda the 28th of July.
Okay.
And then it was from there. It was every other day. I had a surgery, cleaning out wounds.
How was that process?
Dude, it was as a 21-year-old kid thinking that I'm like invincible. Like I literally thought I was going back. Like I was like, I'm gonna get a leg. I'll be back by like.
So when you woke up in Afghan at the hospital, was your leg already gone?
Gone. Yeah, gone.
So what was that like?
It was kind of expected of that after like talking to guys and stuff, and it was just like.
So you knew on the flight and everything? Were you kind of putting pieces together?
I was kind of preparing for it. I was like, yeah,
Really?
This is probably gonna be it for my leg.
So I gotta ask. I've never asked you this. So like.
Yeah.
And obviously we work with so many guys and so many amputees. What was your thought process? Like you're laying in bed.
Yeah.
You wake up, you see some Afghan dude. I mean, do you look down and see your leg gone first, or was it that? I mean, like once you process, like my leg's gone.
It was like wrapped in like ace bandages. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's like a nub.
But it's swollen, dude. It's like the size of a melon. Like
really,
your blood starts to pool. Okay. Everything's pulling there, like whatever your body does. So blood starts to pool, and they try and give you like compression stuff, and so it brings all the blood back up and shrinks it down to like your normal size. But yeah, dude, it was it's crazy. It's hard to I don't know. I think for guys like us, it's best case scenario.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? I think
because they say below the knee amputee is a paper cut in that world. You're up and running in 6 months.
For sure. Yeah.
And dude, you climb mountains.
Yeah. I kind of you
do everything that slowed you down. So
exactly. And I think. Like I said, I thought I was going back, so my next step was just to get a leg and
they're going to send you back.
Yes, dude. I was like, this is going to happen.
You thought you're still going back after your leg's gone.
Yes, dude. And like 6 months into it, I've got this massive like cast on my other leg, like this halo that would needle with pins in me.
Because your other leg was shattered too.
Yeah. So my ankle was all shattered. Like I have no movement in it. Like normal's like. I don't know, like 19 degrees or something. You can move your foot, and I can move mine like 3 or 4 or something. There's no movement. It's what gives me the most problems. You see me, but yeah, dude, it was kind of best case scenario, and I think almost prepared for it. And Spalding, my senior guy, he's always said it. He's like, if anybody were to get blown up and lose a leg, he's like, it was the perfect person. You know what I'm saying? He's like, it was a perfect person. Like,
Most people are gonna hear that and just be like, "What?"
Yeah,
Like,
you know what I
they're
mean?
not gonna
And
understand.
Right. And I think, I don't know, man. It was crazy because I've always, I've always, I've always just kind of been like an idiot and just like,
Fuck it.
yeah, exactly. What's the next step? And it's funny to me because in 8th grade, like you do your, we had like a yearbook and stuff like that. And it was like your 8th grade quote or something like that. And I remember putting in there, and I probably thought in 8th grade I was so profound for doing this, but it was like, obstacles will always get in your way. Obstacles will get in your way, but there will always be a way around it. And it's so crazy, dude, because I feel like looking back at that, at myself at that age,
Had no idea.
but could understand that it's like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Like, if I would have lost an arm, it would have been a lot tougher, but it just
Still alive. Still
right.
got my
It
nuts,
kind of
like,
wrote
we're
exactly. It gets. I get to do a lot. I'm more fortunate to do things than other people that aren't here. Or guys that aren't physically disabled, but mentally hold themselves back because of things that happen. But I think that's what separates dudes like us, and I think that's how we find each other. Especially through wishes. Like I always believe that there's like we're all energy, and we're attracted to each other. Like, and kind of coming full circle about talking about Eric and Franklin and you, and there's no reason I should ever. There's no reason we should get along or we should be as close as we are for as separated as we are in the war and the timeline. You know what I'm saying? And especially with age and stuff. But we're we're the type of dudes. Like any dudes that we hang out with, you, Eric, Franklin, any of those dudes who have lost a limb, I know would adjust to it the same way. There's other guys that I'm like,
No way.
it would be tough for you.
Yeah. And we work with some of those guys.
Right,
We deal with them.
and
It's
exactly.
been 15 years and they still, it's like,
Yes.
they haven't gone over that hurdle of accepting like, fuck, okay, this is my life now.
It's exactly, and it sucks. And I mean, there's so much more that we don't see that's only surface level for any guy, but just in mental health alone. Like, I remember when we first got back from Iraq, you do your little assessment mentally and stuff like that before you start your workup, and they're like, hey, if you say anything other than you're good, you're getting
out,
you're done. You're not deploying, you're gonna get somewhere else. So you start off with this basis of like, I need to say I'm good. I think guys hold on to that, and I think don't really want to let go of, I'm fine, or guys that don't want to go get their 100% disability. It's like, dude, like it's not for guys losing limbs. The 4 years you did, like whether or not you did, like you cleared out palm groves in Iraq day after day, dude, that percussion, the chemicals, the wear and tear on your body, everything.
I don't even know how many Mikliks we shot.
That's what I'm saying, dude. It's insane. Like, and the fact that guys need to fight for this is it's nuts. But yeah, man, I think any dudes like us you kind of roll with the punches, and yeah, I did the 3 years at the hospital waiting for my med board and everything to finish. I did therapy, and it was difficult because just like how the Iraq war had started and was going on, I was watching in real time on, CNN or 60 Minutes and things like that. So I'm seeing, Sharp just get hit, and it's on 60 Minutes, like the whole event of Sharp getting gassed, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like, they show him getting carried to a helicopter and things like this, and I'm watching this in real time, and I'm seeing operations that dudes are just had like a week or two before and now being aired, and I'm watching my buddies. So I think that was the most difficult part. And then it was absolute mayhem at the hospital, dude. Like, it was, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother, like, that could be a whole book. Like,
We'll do another one on that.
It was insane, man. I feel like we have so much stuff I want to hit on.
Dude, we haven't touched. I mean, I was looking up some questions now because I had some guys submit some questions.
Yeah.
But, I know we're deep into this, so I know, Chris, you might. We're good? Okay, so a lot of guys, we had a lot of questions about the fight you and I have been in.
Okay, yeah.
I don't even know if we should get into this right now. I don't know how much time we have.
I mean, we could cut it and start a new one.
Yeah, we can. Hold on.
Which maybe we could do that. Get the military out of the way, and then go into because you and I have talked about this before, and this world that we're in now.
Yeah.
You know, we've gone from what I would consider me being a shitbag, nobody ever really putting any leadership roles, you know, as much as I wanted them. Nobody really ever giving me any leadership roles or looking at me in any sort of like trustworthy way, maybe, you know, to where we are now, where I'm constantly getting phone calls or texts from vets like, hey, how can I get my rating bumped up? Do you know anybody?
Yeah.
You know, ins and
Where do I
outs of the
start?
VA, right? Ins and outs of the VA, and it's and going from there and where to start, and like doing stuff with wishes, guys wanting to host their own stuff, you know, and being fortunate enough to give back.
Yeah.
You know, because I think for guys like us and anybody who served, you have a call to duty, and you want to continue to serve. And I think that's another thing is like guys get out and they don't know what to do. And it's like, you know, get involved with other nonprofits, whether you're a vet or your staff, or you're helping them out. I think that's kind of like what has really helped me in seeing like these guys like progress and bring new guys on these trips. I think it's pretty amazing the healing power that does for me. And like the weekend we have coming up, like I think it's wild, man. Like I love doing stuff for guys, and fast forward from the Marine Corps, it's like nobody would ever thought that I was going to be in this role. You know what I'm saying? Or
Facts.
you know, yeah.
Dude, I have some of my seniors all the time. Like, I never would in a million. You would have been the last dude that I ever thought would have started an organization and helped out so many guys the way that we're doing it. So like, I completely understand where, dude, you and I, like Britt says it, and I mean people that really know you and I, it's like you're like my little brother. You know, we're like separated at birth.
No, I agree, dude. It really is. It's like it's crazy because and you know, Krista, my wife, she's a psychologist and she's a therapist and that, and
I feel like she analyzes everything.
Dude, she does.
I say.
Every conversation is like she's gathering information.
She just sits
you know?
when I talk. She's like,
you know,
takes her notes.
And she says it. She's like, you and Bam. She's like, you guys will never meet anybody like yourselves because of the way you met. And it's like, dude, it's almost like we
trauma bonded within hours of knowing each other.
It was insane. It was insane.
Let's take a piss. I got to piss. Let's take a break, and then let's just tell this story. We have to. I got here.
And get
but
into
real
some
quick, so I guess we could do some questions then. But let's take a break.
Let's start off with how we met.
All right, then we'll get into some questions, and we'll bust it out.
All right. Awesome.